Hello everyone, it's Trish here from Handmade by Trish. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would show you a technique on how to get pretty much any colour onto black cardstock. I was watching a video by, it was either Barry or Jay, I can't remember which one did it. I think it might have been Jay from Mitosu Crafts. And the way that he managed to get the look of pink on black was to stamp on white paper, stamp it in the Magenta Madness, I think it was. Then he heat embossed it with clear embossing powder so that you still got the beautiful pink. And then he used a sponge and some black momento ink to then colour the background black. And because the embossing, it was a resist technique, it meant where he had embossed the pink sentiment stayed pink, and then the rest of the card went black. But that's a really good technique, and yeah, absolutely you could use it, and that's probably the way I used to do things like that. But I recently discovered another way of doing it, and I like this way better because you don't get all the inky fingers of having to sponge the memento, so I thought I'd share it. So I've got let me just put that down. I've got a piece of black cardstock with my hair on it. Using my embossing buddy, I'm just going to rub that over. I've already placed the stamp in place, and using my Versamark ink, I'm going to stamp up my sentiment. It's the Life's a Beautiful Journey sentiment. Now, whenever I'm embossing, I always use my Stamparatus, and I always stamp twice. I know I don't need to because there's a really good impression on there anyway, but I don't know, it gives me extra assurance that there's plenty of sticky ink on there to make sure it gets all the embossing powder. Now, what I do now is I emboss it in white. So that's stamped beautifully with the embossing powder. I'm just going to move that to one side. I might just put the embossing powder so it doesn't spill out anywhere all over my desk. Back into its little container. Do excuse my very old heat tool. I reckon, I was thinking about this earlier, I reckon this embossing tool is about 30 years old. But it's really great because it's quiet. I do have a Stampin' Up one, which I love because it's a lot more powerful and is quicker than this one, but this is quiet, so when I'm doing videos it's a lot better. So I'm just going to heat this now until it melts, till the embossing powder melts. There is a few little stray bits, but I'm not going to be too worried about those because it's just really to show you the technique. Now, I did the one on pink already, so I thought this time I would try the Bermuda Bay. Now, when you're using the colours, we're going to use, to colour the white, we're going to use the stamping blends to do that. They're an alcohol marker, and so they will actually permanently colour the white embossing powder for you. But that's kind of not really where it ends for me. It can, of course, but it's not. So that's all melted now. Just give it a minute to cool. So I did do the Magenta Madness on this example here. Now, if you're going to do the next step after colouring, if you're going to reheat it again, I suggest you always use the dark marker, because when you heat it, it's going to lighten. So I've got the dark Bay here, and I just use the felt tip part, the brush part, and because it's on black and it's not going to show up on black, you can be pretty sort of rough. You don't need to be too exact, and just colouring in the white embossing. Now, as I said, because this is an alcohol marker, it's permanent and it won't come off this. So it's a bit like using a Sharpie, I suppose. So you could, if you wanted, just leave it like that. But the thing why I didn't want to leave it like this is because it sort of dulls it a little. You probably can't really see, but normally when you look at embossing it's really shiny, but the marker, and see I can rub it and it's not coming off, the marker kind of gives it a dull, takes the shine off of it. So to get the shine back again, all I did was to reheat it again. Just heat up my heat gun, and if we cover it again, now this is where it will lighten, and this is why I use the darkest of the markers, and just let it remelt again, and it will bring the shine back in. It's sort of like when the powder melts again, it's like it then takes on that colour that you've put on with your marker. It's very cold here today, so it's taking a little while for it to heat. Now, if you still wanted to add a little bit of shine, which it's fine like that, it's good, it has added some shine. I don't know how much you can see that, but if you want it to be even shinier, what you could do again is, I want it a bit darker as well, so I'm going to just recolour it again, because you will notice that it did go lighter once I heated it, so it gives you more the look of the light Bermuda Bay. So if I go over it again with my marker, just give that a minute to dry. You can bring back your, I haven't moved my stamp, so it's still there. That's dry now. If I just go over it with the embossing buddy again, if I re-ink that up with my Versamark, re-stamp it, so because it's in exactly the same place, it's going to put Versamark back on that image where I stamped. And this time I'm going to try putting a little bit of clear embossing powder over it. And let's see what that does. I haven't actually tried adding the clear. I've added more white before and then just done the colour again, just to give me a thicker embossing, because the white can sometimes look a little patchy on the black. So let's just put that back in there. So now when I heat this up, hopefully we should get a very nice shiny Bermuda Bay. That's what I'm expecting anyway. As I say, it's a little bit cold in here today, and this is it's not as powerful as my Stampin' Up heat tool, but when you're trying to get it up to the camera, those heat tools can be really super noisy. Okay, so that's now given me some beautiful shine. Hopefully that picks the shine up a little bit there, and it's giving me the beautiful Bermuda Bay colour, and this was the Misty Moonlight. I'm just going to give it a try with this Mango Melody, because I love yellow, it's my favourite colour, and I just love this colour, and I just thought, well, let's see how that works out too. I haven't tried every colour yet, but I believe this would work with any of the colours of our Stampin' Blend markers. It won't work with ink, because the ink won't stay permanently on the embossing on our normal stamping inks, because they're just dye inks. So you do need to have an alcohol marker or alcohol ink to do this with. So let's just get that white and get my piece of paper. I will cut these out later, because I can certainly use them for something. So I thought if I did some different colours, I'll be able to use them for different projects later on. It's always handy to have things like that ready and done. It just makes, when you are needing to make a card, if you need to make one in a hurry, you've always got it ready. So let's just pop that to one side. Help heat the cardstock from the back. It's raining here today. It's not as cold as it was yesterday. I think it was 7 degrees here yesterday. It's about 13 degrees today, but so a lot warmer, but it's been wet all day. I think yesterday we had no clouds, so any heat that we did have kind of escaped into the atmosphere. But, yeah, it's a lot warmer today. Beautiful day. Just wet. Right, so see how sometimes with white embossing powder it can look a little bit patchy, which is fine. You only really notice that if you're looking at it close up, but when you're doing this you can sometimes get a bit of that. How beautiful that yellow is against the black. So this is the dark Mango Melody colour, and one of my absolute favourites. I use this a lot, this colour, for so many things. But because it will lighten, I'm interested to see how the yellow will look. Probably will need to go over it again, you know, embossing it again perhaps. But let's have a look how this comes out. Now, it looks beautiful on there, and you could certainly use it like that. You don't have to reheat it. I think, you know, with heat embossing, one of the nice things about it is the shine that it gives you. So let's just heat this up again. So although it's lightening a little bit, it's not actually lightening that much. It's still staying pretty yellow. And actually, I think that's quite beautiful like that. So that really looking a little bit more like the light Mango Melody. So you really, if you use the dark colour, you're going to get the sort of lighter finish. So that's the Bermuda Bay, the Mango Melody, and the Magenta Madness. So you can see how really you can use any colour ink on black and not have to get inky fingers. All right, hope you enjoyed that, and I shall see you again soon. Bye.